Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for April's Lunch and Learn session. We always like to start these. Let us know where you're from, what are you having for lunch? Do you still have Easter chocolates left over that you're getting through? Because that does not exist in my house, but we just want to hear. We're really excited today to be joined by the Training Link team. Just to let you know, we are recording this session, so you will receive a copy of the recording, and Training Link have also kindly provided the slides, so you'll get a copy of those slides as well, so you don't need to worry about frantically taking any notes. So once again, thank you, and thank you so much to the Training Link team. Hi Sam, I can see you saying hi to us. Hi Claire. Tuna mayo wraps for lunch, a classic. So thank you. Keep it coming. I want to know what you're having. I need some inspiration. So thank you so much. And I'm delighted to hand over to the Training Link team if you want to introduce yourselves and get stuck into today's payroll session.
Thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the ICB's Lunch and Learn. Today, we'll be looking at payroll tax codes, how they're calculated, and instances where they may be different. We'll also chat about the Level 3 payroll course, what's involved, and the benefits of completing it. So let's start with some introductions. My name's Michele Baker, and this is Jo Fredriksen. We work for Training Link, who have been delivering distance learning courses for nearly 30 years and have picked up many awards along the way. Jo has been part of the team for 5 years, and it's 7 years for me, but we've been working together as tutors for 20 years. That's a really long time when you say it out loud.
Certainly is.
That's the introductions done. Let's get started.
Some of you may have heard me speaking about payroll before. It's a subject that I'm very passionate about, and even more so that about having the right training to complete payroll correctly. A business that is in a position to have their own staff makes them very fortunate, but with this comes responsibility. The responsibility to follow government set legislations and obligations to pay their staff. They're expected to make the required deductions and ensure that their liability to HMRC is paid on time and for the correct values. Gaining a payroll qualification can separate you from general admin staff, creating the opportunity for specialised roles with a higher earning potential. It can lead to positions such as a payroll manager, payroll analyst, or even consulting roles within payroll services. Certified payroll professionals often command higher salaries due to their expertise and in-depth knowledge.
The ICB payroll syllabus is robust, and we at Training Link are committed to developing good working payrollers with our courses. Within the syllabus, you will cover the legislation of day-to-day payroll, and this can change every year depending on updates within the guidelines set by the government and HMRC. These will include deductions for income tax or PAYE, national insurance contributions, as well as payments of statutory sick pay, maternity and paternity payments. You will learn how to verify the eligibility of statutory payments and ensure the criteria set by HMRC is met, as well as how to calculate these manually. With the development of software and automation, a lot of roles for bookkeeping and accounts are becoming data entry roles. Although this saves time and decreases workloads, we're also seeing the decline in basic manual skills. There are many individuals out there in the working world who are a whiz at payroll software, but lacking the basic manual skills to detect errors, answer queries, or just to ensure that the software is doing what we need it to. Our payroll courses and the ICB exams are bringing back these skills. We have a variety of students from no previous knowledge to workers who have found themselves in the role with no formal training, being asked questions they do not have the answers to, or looking for new employment and have decided that they now need a formal qualification.
The ICB run the payroll exams for 2 years. For example, the 2024-25 exam, which was available from August 2024, will be available to take until August 2026. Then the exam will be retired. This means that when the new tax year came into effect from April 2025, the course materials purchased previously and currently being completed by students will not become obsolete at this time, and the exam will still be available to take until August 2026. The exams are all open book. This means that you are allowed and encouraged to use your materials, notes, and any other resources available to you when you're completing your exam. There is a lot to remember for payroll, and you cannot remember everything all the time. You need to organise yourself with note-taking, learning the individual processes and finding the best way for you to navigate your materials to be able to look up and refresh on areas instead of trying to memorise everything.
The exams are on demand, so they can be booked all year round. They're accessible online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so they're ready when you are. Life is generally busy and we're trying to fit in work, studies and family commitments. It is hard work. The exam is a 24-hour exam, so you have plenty of time to look anything up that you need to, check your figures and complete the exam as best you can without the fear of the clock ticking away quite so quickly. Once you've gained your qualification, you're then expected to keep up to date with current legislation as part of your ongoing CPD and commitment to your membership, as well as the financial well-being of your clients and staff. The ever-evolving landscape of payroll regulations require ongoing learning and development. Engaging with complex payroll concepts can be intellectually stimulating and rewarding, contributing to both personal and professional growth. We're going to go through some manual tax codes to give you a little taster of the payroll world.
Here comes the technical part. Bear with me while I share my screen. Here goes. Hopefully everyone can see that okay. So today we're going to be looking at tax codes, what they are for and how they are made up and what can affect them. A tax code is a personal allowance and indicates a tax-free element of someone's earnings. This can include income from employment, personal income, self-employment income, income support and benefits. All of these forms of income are taxable. A tax code is then issued by HMRC to indicate what personal allowance value is allocated to an individual as tax-free income. Only HMRC can calculate and issue a tax code. We can calculate it ourselves as an indicator or to explain to an employee how their tax code has been adjusted, but we're not allowed to change the codes ourselves. If there is a problem, then the employee must contact HMRC to request a change or investigation if they believe it is incorrect. With real-time information, RTI, the information is sent to HMRC every time payroll is processed. This might be weekly, fortnightly or monthly. This allows HMRC to collate information and, if required, cross-reference the data to ensure their system is up to date as possible. So changes to tax codes, for example, are completed in a timely manner. This is especially important for new starters, leavers or individuals with multiple jobs to avoid or correct errors promptly. The taxing of income is done in tax bands, depending on the level of your income, what income you are in receipt of and your personal circumstances. Individuals earning £24,000 a year will be taxed a lot less than someone earning £150,000 a year. The tax bands are in place to ensure that everyone is taxed consistently and the tax bands are defined clearly. Some employees might be in receipt of benefits which have a cash value. For example, a company car or medical cover. These are taxable benefits. They're usually taxed every pay period instead of receiving a big tax bill at the end of the year to be paid. If they're not processed as part of the payroll, but instead using a yearly P11D form, then HMRC will adjust the tax code to collect the tax on these benefits in the following year. We will look at an example of the effect this might have on a tax code later. What about tax when you're in receipt of a pension? Even pensions are taxable. A personal allowance is always allocated to a pension before any other income, and this includes private pensions. Again, we'll look at an example of this shortly. The standard personal allowance is the tax code which is considered normal for the year. This is 1257L. This has been the standard personal allowance since 2021 and it's looking to be frozen until April 2028. This means that the tax-free income is set to £12,570 a year. This is spread over the course of the year into pay periods. Again, this might be weekly, monthly or fortnightly, depending when a staff member is paid. An example of this might be a weekly paid employee earning £400 a week, and their free pay amount would be £12,570 divided by 52 equals a rounded £242 a week set by HMRC. This means that they're only taxed on £400 minus the £242, which equals £158 in that week. When is it not a standard personal allowance? There are other tax codes that HMRC will issue for various reasons. Here are a selection of them. A BR code is when all income is taxed at 20% and there is no longer a personal allowance. If the previous employee was on a BR tax code instead of 1257L, then they would be taxed at 20% on the whole £400 of income in that week. We can also see D0 and D1 tax codes. These are individuals that are taxed at 40 and 45% on their whole income with no other tax bands. There are also some with S prefixes. These are for the same reasons, but they're specifically for Scottish taxpayers. Scottish taxpayers on a standard personal allowance will have a tax code of S1257L. Benefits in kind. These are when an employee has a benefit that has a cash value. There are many benefits that can fall within this category. And they are processed within the payroll system every month. They're treated as additional income and therefore attract tax along with their salary income so that the taxable income amount is higher. Income received in the form of a pension is also taxable. We do not usually see the tax being deducted as it is done at source before we receive the payment. An individual's personal allowance, though, is used against their pension income so that the pension is not taxed. An individual may be in receipt of both a state pension and personal income, and you can only use your personal income once. We will look at how the personal allowance is allocated against the pension income values. Finally, we'll look at sharing or increasing a personal allowance. This is only allowed in certain instances. This can be due to a couple who are married or in a civil partnership. We will look at this allowance and how this can affect the tax code of both individuals. We're going to look at a benefit in kind that has not been payrolled and the effect that this has on someone's tax code. Remember that HMRC complete this process, and this is just the workings of how this could look. Example 1. We have a standard personal allowance of £12,570 and a total benefit in kind amount of £5,800. This is deducted from £12,570, leaving a remaining personal allowance of £6,770 for the year. This will produce a new tax code of 677L. Example 2. This is an instance where the benefit in kind amount is higher than the personal allowance. Again, we'll start with the personal allowance of £12,570, but this time the total benefit in kind is £18,500. When this is deducted from the personal allowance, we're left with a negative balance of £5,930. This means that instead of being tax-free, this is added to their income, which is called additional pay, and in turn makes the taxable amount higher and more tax is deducted. When a personal allowance becomes a negative amount, the tax code changes to a K code. This is calculated as 5930. Remove the N0 to become 593, then deduct 1, which equals K592. This means that they need to pay tax on an additional £5,920 throughout the year. We're going to look at how a pension is being received and the tax code effect. A state pension is taxed before it is received, and we do not see the tax being deducted. A state pension can be tax-free though. This is due to the personal allowance being allocated against the pension before it is received. We'll look at an individual with a personal allowance of £12,570 and a state pension income of £11,500. When the pension is deducted from the personal allowance, there's a remaining amount of £1,070. This can be used against any part-time income or a private pension if they are in receipt of either of these forms of payment. But remember, the state pension is always taxed with the personal allowance allocated first. Finally, we're going to look at marriage allowance. It's possible to share some of the allowance of your personal allowance with your partner if one of you is a low income receiver. This will mean that the higher income receiver will pay less tax on their earnings rather than it not being used. Here is an example. We have a married couple, M and N. M has income of £26,500 a year, but N only earns £9,500 a year. It's been agreed that N will transfer some of their personal allowance, which is currently unused, to their partner M. The maximum transfer amount is £1,260 a year. This means that M will have an increased personal allowance of £12,570 plus £1,260 equals £13,830, and N a decreased personal allowance of £12,570 minus £1,260 equals £11,310. The new tax codes created in this are 1383M for M and 1131N for N. The tax savings by transferring the allowance is that M will pay less tax as their personal allowance is higher, and N will remain untaxed as their personal income is still below the adjusted personal allowance of £11,310. The tax savings for M would be 1260 times 20% is £252. If N's income went above £11,310 in a year, then they would start paying tax sooner than if they were on the standard tax code, but so would M without the additional allowance. We hope that you found our short presentation useful and insightful into this small area of payroll. We leave you all to go away and check your payslips and tax codes. For anyone who has never given a thought to your tax code before this, may it help you to understand some of the workings that come, where some of the workings come from and how they are impactful in how much money you are taking home. There is no such thing as too much knowledge in accounting and payroll. Everything we learn gives us a little viewing window into how business works as business owners, employers, as well as workers, ensuring that we're all earning what we're entitled to. We're running a special promotion for anyone wishing to purchase a course with us following this Lunch and Learn session today. By using the code LUNCH15 for a 15% discount at the checkout through our website. This will be available to use for the next week until the 2nd of May 2025.
Well, thank you very much for that, Jo. Now we'll all be looking more closely at how much we pay in tax. We'd like to open the floor to any questions you might have about the course or the syllabus. Jo, there's some questions in the Q&A box.
Okay, bear with. So a BR code is usually used if you're using your tax code somewhere else already. So your personal allowance. So usually it's a second job, or if you're in receipt of a pension. A 0T literally means there is no personal allowance. So usually that could be because they don't know your situation at this time. So it's like a new starter. If they haven't signed any declaration, you don't know what the history is, you don't know what they're earning, what they're not earning, or their income could be over £100,000 already and it could be reduced. So it depends on the situation exactly what code it is. I mean, you can find a list of BR what the tax codes are, and that could be helpful as well. Can a person have more than one tax code? Yes is the answer to that. So again, if you had two jobs, you could contact HMRC and say, I have two jobs. So rather than one using a standard tax code and the other using a BR code, potentially you could split your tax code between those two jobs. So both are taxed based on that. Quite common for, say, people with multiple part-time jobs. My recommendation will be contact HMRC, get your tax code split over the jobs rather than being taxed at 20% on everything, in the hope that, you know, you do earn more than your personal allowance for the year, you know, better in your pocket than theirs, really. You haven't explained week. So week 1 and month 1 tax codes are, every week is treated as month 1 or week 1, depending on what period you're being paid. So there is no history, nothing else that's already happened is taken into account. As a rule, week 1 would normally be a temporary process that's used, because it's, once HMRC have calculated again your whole circumstances, again, if you don't think you should be on it, contact HMRC, they can look into it. It's normally a temporary measure until they've detailed your history, what you've earned so far this year. It's better for them to, in their eyes, to overtax you than undertax you. You might get a refund rather than a tax bill. So if you don't think you should be on it, contact them. Hi, I completed the level 3 payroll management. Can I start applying for a payroll job? You most certainly can start applying for a payroll job. Yes. Bureaus are always a good place to start, or you could obviously try and work for yourself if you've got the practicing license and you're covered for AML. You could start looking for yourself, become your own bureau. If you're looking to apply for jobs, yeah, I always say go to agencies, look online, see what's available, and yeah, throw yourself out there. You've got that qualification, you've earned it, definitely go and use it. They're crying out for payrollers. I get emails 2 or 3 times a week offering me jobs for payroll. So yeah, I can't rate it enough for what's available out there compared to some jobs that are flooding the market. They're crying out for payroll because people are scared of it. So qualifications are the way forward. For marriage allowance on a tax code, truly, yeah, I wasn't just making it up. They are M&N. So the person giving will get the M, and the person receiving, no, wrong way around. It's the person receiving, it will be M, person giving will be N. So how it is in the example is how it should be. I use their names apparently to try and make it easier, but I may have confused it more. Sorry about that. What's the next course after payroll? Andrea, there is no other course higher than the level 3 diploma in payroll management for payroll. Outside of that, you'd be looking at going towards HR and legislation to do with companies and that side of it, rather than, the more the human resources side rather than actual payroll. There are other bits and pieces out there you can pick up, but the payroll course takes you through start to finish with payroll, and there isn't anything else out there that you could do to enhance that specifically. Is there a scenario where the shared personality exceeds the maximum of 1,260? For marriage allowance, no. If there are other allowances available, blind person's allowance or something like that, then that can change it. But marriage allowance is a set value of £1,260. I'm studying level 2 bookkeeping. Train link, can I study payroll? No, you do not need to do level 3 first. The payroll is a completely standalone course. Obviously, I would recommend doing level 3 anyway, for the fact that the understanding then goes across the board with the information within it, how payroll is processed within bookkeeping, in that sense. But there is no prerequisite that you have to have done any of the other levels, level 2, 3, level 4, or anything to do the payroll. It's a completely standalone qualification. To confirm, the exam for level payroll is open book, and everything you've said there is true, April. It's a open book, 24 hours. You can take it home, day or night. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if you want to do it at 2 o'clock in the morning, choice is yours. Any more questions? Okay, I can see some questions come up in the webinar chat. So The notice to link takes you to 24-25 tax year, so it'll be valid. The employer's NI has increased. So the course at the moment that is available is 24-25. The 25-26 tax year does not become available for sale or for exams until August 2025. Obviously, we need time to write it, update it, and the government to change their mind several times. So yeah, it's in the process of being done, but it will not go live until August. But your course, your exam, all the information is available until it will be August 2026 anyway. I missed any other questions there. Are you watching any of these questions, Michele?
No.
Was you just listening to my dulcet tones?
Your thing, yeah.
Mesmerised, that's what it is.
I was listening.
I'll scroll back down and read them then. Bear with me.
Joe, I think you have covered
Hello,
most
currently
of
I'm
them.
studying. It says that currently studying AAT bookkeeping level 1 and wonder if there are any London apprenticeship opportunities available. I don't know a lot about apprenticeships,
No.
so I'm afraid I'm not of much use for you there. There are payroll apprenticeships out there, but I know we don't necessarily deal with them. There are companies out there that do, though.
I'll just jump in because I can see Andrew's asked about AML, so that's the anti-money laundering. So if you wanted to open up your own bookkeeping practice or payroll practice, you do need to be supervised for the money laundering regulations. I will send a link in the chat because we do provide some resources. So if you come into ICB membership and get a practice license, you would be covered under the money laundering regulations. We would be your supervisor. So I'm just sending some more information into the chat just there. And I will just do a small plug that if you do go ahead and take your payroll qualification and become an ICB payroll agent, we do have dedicated resources to help support ICB payroll agents, which includes a regular payroll webinar where you get more insights like this, but sometimes going into more detail about latest governmental updates, because as you can imagine, the world of payroll is ever changing. So I'm just going to pop that in the chat there. And if you have any questions, about what happens after you get your payroll qualifications, feel free to come to ICB. We'll be happy to talk you through your options.
So you put, what's the difference between choosing a package with no exams added on or choosing the option with ICB exams? If you choose with the exams included, you know the end price. There's no additional costs. That's going to, the exam prices are all included within your package. The exam's already there. Other than that, there's no different. The course is the same. The content is the same. It's literally a case of whether, for example, if you chose a finance package where you wanted to pay over a period of time, if you chose to include the exams, you'd be paying for those over a period of time as well, rather than having to make a one-off payment to take your exam at the other end. That's the only difference between it. So it's what financial situation best suits you, really. If you choose the whole package, then it will be 15% applied across the board. If you chose course only, then the exams are completely separate. Exactly, Anton. The prices, it includes, the discount gets applied to the total amount, not just the cost amount of the course.
And obviously, if anyone does have any questions about the offers being offered by Training Link, if you just reach out to the team, they'll be more than happy to discuss.
Yeah, there's also a chat box on the website. So if you've got any questions, click on the chat box. There's someone there to help you during working hours. So I don't know prices. I don't get involved in prices. We are course technical only.
But there is a supportive team who will be able to talk you through your prices, your packages, and just try and find the right route for you. And I can see Anton saying Training Link has been great so far.
Thank you very much.
You must be someone who has Joe as your tutor if you're saying that, or Michele.
Flying through, look.
Yeah, someone else is saying they finished the payroll course.
See,
You're
Anton hasn't
ace,
got to me yet.
If you are on the fence about taking any Training Link courses, reach out to the team. I'm sure they'll be able to convince you to go ahead and make that step. Payroll's on the list.
Excellent.
Right on. So I'm just quickly scanning. I'm not sure that anything else has come in via the Q&A. More recommendations for Training Links. So these are things we like to hear in these
We'll have
sessions.
to pay them later for that.
Yeah. Jennifer's asked if Training Link, do you use the Rogo mock platform? We do use it. We use Rogo as well. It's not the ICB's platform because they have their own, but we both use Rogo, so it's very similar in the concept and process of it. But it's obviously their own branding, same as the ICB have got theirs. But
perfect. As we said at the beginning, you will get a copy of this recording and the slides will include the contact details for Training Link as well as the discount code, which I think has also been shared within this chat. So we'll just make sure you've got everything that you need. Yeah, perfect. Stephen's just confirming that Rogo is used throughout your studies. So it's not just your mocks, it'll be with you throughout your whole process. So I think you did say 30 minutes. We're 2 minutes over that. I will keep an eye out for any other questions, but it does seem to be wrapping up. So again, we will send everything out to everyone attending. So you'll have your recording, your slides, and obviously if you have any questions, please do reach out to the Training Link team. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you and be happy to help. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope everyone's found it very interesting to learn about these tax codes and the wonderful world of payroll. So if you've got any final words, Training Link, we'd love to hear from you.
no, thanks for having us, really.
Yeah, having us, and thanks everyone for coming along.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, I'll let everyone get to their Easter chocolates, their sandwiches. I've got very hungry listening throughout this, so thank you so much. And yeah, we'll get this recording out to everyone. So thanks all. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.